I want to discuss this and more with the former Republican Maryland Governor, Larry Hogan. Governor, thanks for joining us. As you well know, there's a growing divide among Republicans about supporting Ukraine's efforts to combat Russia's invasion. How do you think the death of Prigozhin should impact the candidate's views toward Russia?
Well, that's a great question, Wolf. I mean, I happen to be someone who thinks that we ought to be, supporting Ukraine and standing up to Putin. There are a number of people on that stage that don't agree with that position, but I'm sure this question is going to come up tonight, and hopefully we'll get a chance to hear the positions of these various candidates. It'll give them an opportunity to explain themselves.
I suspect it will come up indeed. This debate is also happening as Donald Trump is set to turn himself into the Fulton County Jail tomorrow, and as his former personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, did the same thing earlier today. What's your reaction, Governor, to that, and what does it say about the Republican Party that Trump is still the very, very dominant frontrunner right now?
Well, that's the real dilemma that we're faced with. I believe that Trump, he's far and away the leader of the Republican primary electorate, and yet he's the weakest possible candidate that we could put up for the general election. And, there's no getting around that. But tonight is actually the real start of this election campaign. And I'm hopeful that some of these candidates will have a chance to get America to know them, to hear about what they're all about, instead of it being completely focused on Trump. But he's the 800-pound gorilla. He sucks all the oxygen out of the room. And as you and I are doing right now, we have this big debate. It's very important. I hope people will tune in. And all we're talking about is Donald Trump and his problems. And that's what these candidates are going to have to overcome.
You released an op-ed in Newsweek about what's going on, and in part, you write this. Let me quote from your op-ed. In a party of principle, if you are unwilling to challenge the frontrunner, then you have no business being in the race. Trump won't be there tonight, but do you expect the candidates to challenge him during the debate tonight?
I think there are going to be a couple at least who are going to challenge him. I know that Chris Christie and Asa Hutchinson, two of my former colleagues, I think they're both former U.S. attorneys, prosecutors who have already been willing to stand up and criticize Trump. We're still going to have to see who else is going to have the courage to stand up. Some of them have not been willing to do that so far. And look, I really don't believe you should be challenging Trump if you're not willing to challenge Trump. And I think if people are just going to, if they're not going to be leaders and they're going to be cheerleaders, they really have no business being in the race and they shouldn't be running.
Do you think the candidates who didn't qualify for the debate tonight should drop out?
Well, look, I don't want to make that decision for anyone else, but I think it's pretty clear if you have not been able to get any kind of support or attention or raise the minimum, reach the minimum requirements. I think having 11 challengers in the race is only benefiting Donald Trump. And so if I were some of those candidates, I would think twice about it's going to be even tougher to get on the next debate stage. The requirements are going to be even higher. And I think they ought to get behind somebody. Well, let's see tonight who has a chance to rise up and who looks like they may be willing to challenge Trump. And maybe some of those other folks should get out of the race and get behind them.
The former Maryland Governor, Larry Hogan, thank you very much for joining us.